And the problem is with our finances, that's not what people are doing. We should be doing that. We should be slowing down. And what I mean by slowing down is not chasing big rates of return, not chasing, these 15, 20 year percent or 20% rates of return per year right out of the gate, because what that's doing is it's creating a false sense of success, a false sense of security. And in order to do that, typically people are giving up control of their money. They're putting it in vehicles that they can't control, they don't have access to, and there's a lot of risk, whether it comes to a market risk, whether it comes to taxation risk or political risk or anything of that nature. They're putting it in accounts that they have a lot of risk that they don't have control of. And anytime you take the money out of your hard-earned money that you're saving for your future, and you take it out of your control, you're reducing your chance of success. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It is Chris with Life 180, and for this video, we're gonna be talking about, should you be investing, saving, or paying off debt? Now, I decided to make this video simply because I get this question all the time, like literally a couple times a day, every day, and it's one of those situations where people are confused about what they should be doing with their money. And here's what I'll say is that there's no one size fits all answer to this. And what I thought I would do is kind of break down a couple different avatars, if you will, a couple different like demographics of people based on where you are in life and how you should be handling your money. Should you invest? Should you save? Or should you pay off debt? So first and foremost, right out of the gate, let's talk about somebody who's in their 20s. Maybe that's you, and you have very little debt, if not no debt. Maybe the only debt you have is college debt or something of that nature, not quite a mortgage yet, no credit card debt, anything like that. So then it becomes a function, okay, I don't have to pay off debt, that part's handled. And if you do have college debt and so on and so forth, I think just, take care of that, pay that off as you go. Don't overpay it, don't try to pay it off super fast. Typically, unless you have super toxic, unhealthy credit card debt, college debt, and then just pay it off as you go. And don't be in a rush to pay it off super fast. Now, should you invest or save first? I'm a big believer that we need to save before we invest, and we need to save to invest. If you go back to the foundations of what it takes to be a successful investor, you need to make sure that your financial foundation in your life is set up. And just like any business, to be able to operate effectively, you need to have a good reserve of capital to be able to be effective. And so it's the same thing with your investments. It's the same thing with your financial life. You need to spend your 20s setting that foundation up for yourself. And that means you have to save. You got to put your money in an account that you have liquidity, use, and control of. And you need to make sure that that money's secure, that it's protected from losses, that it's protected from creditors, that it's protected from everything out there in the world. And so that is the first thing that you need to be doing, is saving. And what I suggest for everybody to do, and this goes across the board, no matter what age range you're in, is that you need to be saving for an emergency and you need to be saving for opportunity. And so from that perspective, I think 2 years is a good number. 2 years of income. If you make $50,000, you should be striving to save $100,000 in an account that's guaranteed before you go out and you start to invest. I'm a big believer, and this is the same principle, guys. Like, these principles don't change. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your money. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your business and all these things. Sometimes you have to slow down to be able to go fast, right? And in a business, think about this. I've done this a lot. I've done it both ways. I've had success and I've had failure, right? I could tell you the businesses that I do, that I've done, that have succeeded, have been the businesses that I've been willing to slow down in at the beginning, to plan, to get everything lined up, to get all the partnerships lined up, to get all the technology lined up, to get all the business plan and the operations and all the strategic partnerships and all these things lined up, and get it all really clear. And then once you have that and you get it all dialed in, then you can move really fast. And the problem is with our finances, that's not what people are doing. We should be doing that. We should be slowing down. And what I mean by slowing down is not chasing big rates of return, not chasing, these 15, 20 year percent or 20% rates of return per year right out of the gate, because what that's doing is it's creating a false sense of success, a false sense of security. And in order to do that, typically people are giving up control of their money. They're putting it in vehicles that they can't control, they don't have access to, and there's a lot of risk, whether it comes to market risk, whether it comes to taxation risk or political risk or anything of that nature. They're putting it in accounts that they have a lot of risk that they don't have control of. And anytime you take the money out of your hard-earned money that you're saving for your future, and you take it out of your control, you're reducing your chance of success. Because there's a psychological thing that goes with that when you're not in control of it, you're not as invested at growing yourself to become who you need to be successful. And so therefore you kind of become a victim when 2008 happens. You become somebody who is able to scapegoat and say, wow, I'm a victim. It wasn't my fault. It was my advisor's fault, or it was this fund's fault, or it was like something else going on. You get to blame it on somebody else, and you're not becoming who you need to be successful. And I'm a big believer in that. Now, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to say it again. Should you invest, save, or pay off debt? Now, let's talk about, I actually just spoke to somebody the other day that had a lot of debt, that had a lot of assets, and I honestly, I looked at this debt and I was kind of perplexed, because there was like $80,000 in credit card debt, a couple $100,000 in other assets sitting around, a bunch of home equity, like stuff of that nature. And I looked at this, and the credit card debt, $80,000 in credit card debt, over $2,200 a month in minimum payments on the credit card debt that would take over 15 years to pay off. Think about it, like if you break it down, 15 years at $2,200 a month, 15 years at $2,200 a month to pay off $80,000. It's astronomical, the inefficiency, the wasted money that was in that. Now, all the while, they were trying to overly contribute to a 401k, overly contribute to an IRA. They had all this home equity sitting there that was just totally, just sitting there for that would be cheap money that they could control.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
Now, they're struggling from a cash flow perspective, but yet they're trying to save money. They're trying to save for their retirement. And I'm a big believer is like, if we think of our world, if we think of our financial life as a bucket, right? Like, and we're pouring water into that bucket, and money is water in this scenario, right? And we've got all these leaks in the bucket, right? In this scenario, that credit card debt, that toxic debt is a leak. If we have all these leaks, right, does it make sense to try to keep pouring more money into a water bucket with a ton of leaks in it? No, it makes sense to plug the leaks first, and then you put more water into it. But you need to make sure that you plug those leaks first. If you don't, everything you do is inefficient. You've got to work harder just to keep that bucket full. And quite frankly, we all know that the bucket's never going to really fill up, and because if you stop, it's just going to leak out and you're going to be broke. What you need to do is plug the leaks, make sure, then recapitalize that bucket, refill that bucket, and then allow that money to work for you, and then it will start to overflow, and then you'll be happy, right? Like then that's when financial freedom really starts to take hold. So in this scenario, should they be investing and saving? Well, they already had some savings, right? And so what we did is I kind of coached them through this process and said, listen, here's some variables. And I gave them like 4 or 5 different options that they could go through based on their situation. They decided on their own that taking out a home equity or doing a cash out refi made sense, right? So they did a cash out refi. They took some of the home equity, basically refinanced this toxic debt into about a 3.4% mortgage, and they were able to take that. Now there's still interest that they're paying on this, but the bottom line is it opened up about $1,800 a month in cash flow for them. That's really powerful, right? Like when you can do that, that's really powerful. Now what they had to do is they realized that they were all invested. They didn't have any real savings. So they paid off their toxic debt. They had all of their money in qualified accounts, but that's still at risk. That's still out of their purview of control. That's still with the government and exposed to taxation risk and political risk and all these different things. The government spending, $30 trillion in debt almost right now. We know that taxes are going to get bad, and any money in that account, you're like in business with a business partner that's got a drug habit, right? That is going to make bad decisions, and that those bad decisions are going to become your problem, whether you like it or not. That is what happens when you have your money in a qualified account. And so from that perspective, it was like, okay, let's let that money be. Stop contributing to that. Let that just kind of do what it's going to do. And let's take money and let's build a savings account. Let's build a financial fortress, a bunker, if you will, of money that you're gonna have liquidity, use, and control of, that will be your rainy day fund, your emergency fund, an opportunity fund. As the market goes up and down, you are going to be protected, you're going to be prepared, and that's what you're going to be looking for. So in that environment, I think we run into people all the time, and I wanted to use this example to talk about the person that has money but also has a lot of debt. It makes no sense. Even if I'm going to tell you my opinion, and this is not personal advice, by the way, this is just kind of my philosophy. It's all about financial efficiency. A lot of people are scared, and a lot of people are taught, in my opinion, poorly, that you don't want to liquidate any money to pay off toxic debt, because if you save for retirement and you have a chunk of a pile of money, let's say you had $100,000 saved in a 401k or an IRA, we'll say, because it's easier to deal with. If you had $100,000 in an IRA and you had $50,000 in credit card debt, which is crazy as it sounds, or even $20,000 in credit card debt, happens all the time. So does it make sense, if you're having a hard time from a cash flow perspective paying for this $20,000, does it make sense when you're paying 18% on that to have to deal with having this money in account where you're earning 6%, 7%, 8%, maybe if you're lucky, after all the taxes and fees? Because remember, those will average over a long term, maybe 8%, but then you back out all the fees and the admin costs and the fund management fees and all that stuff. That's usually about 2% all in for the expense ratios for those investment accounts. So 8%, if you're lucky, is going to end up being about, just over 6% is what your real return is. And so if you're earning a real return of just over 6% and you're paying 18% or 20% over here, does that make any sense? You're just wasting money every single year, right? So what I would say is, people ask me, is it worth paying the 10% penalty? Because remember, if you have that 100,000, people are scared of paying the taxes and the penalty. Well, guess what? You're not getting out of the taxes. That money is in a taxable account. Now, you're going to have to pay earned income on that, from a tax perspective, no matter what. The question is, if you think taxes are going up, well, you're going to be paying a higher rate later. So I want to get that out of the way, right? Like I would just be happy to do that. People freaking out about the 10% penalty. Well, if you're paying 18% over here, yeah, you're going to pay a 10% penalty, but it's done, right? Like, and it's going to free up cash flow. And so the biggest thing that I can say is, I would do a withdrawal, a distribution from my IRA. I would pay off toxic debt, and then I would make sure I take that cash flow. This is where the key scenario is. You have to be disciplined with that. You have to make sure you take that extra cash flow and you create a forced savings plan for yourself. You have to create a scenario that keeps you disciplined, keeps you moving in the right track, and helps you getting closer to your goals, your objectives, the desires that you have in life. I would call that financial freedom, right? Because that's what everybody's seeking. That's what everybody's after. That's how, if you can hit financial freedom, you're going to live a more fulfilled life. I believe that, right? So that's what you want to be going for. And if you do this, and if you have a forced savings plan, and you kind of put yourself in that scenario with the cash flow, you're going to be much better served. Don't worry so much about the taxes, because you're going to pay those anyway at some point in time. You're just deferring, you're delaying having to pay those taxes to a later point in time, in my opinion, into an environment where taxes are going to be much higher. 10% penalty, just eat it. Just, if it makes you sad, if it makes you angry that you have to do it, you made the decision to put the money there. That's a consequence. You have all this other stuff going on. Decisions have consequences. I'm sorry, but you just have to deal with that to get over there. And don't make emotional decisions with your money. Look at the math. Does it make sense? And if you're scared that you're withdrawing your retirement fund, well, I'm here to tell you that the pain that this is causing from a cash flow perspective, and from your ability to save and show up more powerfully today, and how you can leverage that money to then prepare for your future and plan, improve your credit, do all these different things that can help you show up more powerfully, then you're missing the boat. Like, you have to just look at the math, not make emotional decisions, and go from there. Now, the next person is somebody who maybe has debt and maybe doesn't have much of anything saved, and doesn't have a rainy day fund, doesn't have that emergency account. They don't have a lot of money in a qualified account. They don't have a lot of money saved for retirement or invested for retirement, any of that, right? And this happens a lot, obviously, especially when I talk to people who are in their 30s and 40s. It's scary to me how few people are thinking about, getting to that level or getting where they need to be. They're way behind. And what I know about human nature is the further you get behind, the more likely you are to give up, because the human brain only allows you to put 100% of effort into something that you know you'll be successful with. So the longer you go without doing anything, the more likely you are to not do what you need to do to be successful. So my encouragement to you is to actually implement a plan. And so no matter where you are, if you are needing to improve your credit, if you are needing to pay off debt, you need to make sure you have enough saved to prepare, for an emergency. So I'm a big believer that you should pay off your credit cards and use your credit cards as that emergency fund to begin with, right? Like, I know Dave Ramsey will tell you, you need to, for baby step number 1 or whatever, I don't even know what number it is, but it's like save $1,000. That's one of the first steps that you need to do, is get $1,000 in a savings account. If you have credit card debt, pay off the credit card debt first, because as you're paying it off, that is available for you for an emergency fund. That balance is available for you, and you're going to improve your credit. You're going to do all these things that are going to benefit you. So do that first. As you pay your credit card debt down, once you get rid of the toxic debt, then you can learn to save. You can start to save. Take the cash flow. This is the key. You need to be disciplined inside of a system to take the cash flow you free up by paying off the debt and then put yourself into a forced savings plan. And then once again, you save before you invest, and you save to invest. You save with the purpose of investing the money that you're saving, right? That allows you to save, and it allows you to invest more effectively, more efficiently, and more strategically with investing with the mindset of investing for cash flow, right? So as you go through that process and you save up, to the level that you're comfortable, and you get to, you hit different benchmarks. I'm not going to get into what all those benchmarks are in this video, but as you hit those different benchmarks, you're going to be able to start to look for different opportunities. You're going to know you're protected in case of an emergency, in case of a downswing in the economy, in case of, a financial catastrophe, or, like a 2008 happening. And not only are you going to be protected in it, but you're going to be prepared for it. You're going to be able to seek opportunity in those environments, and that's when people get wealthy. And that's the key here. So you need to save, then invest, and ultimately, before any of that, you need to pay off all your debt. You need to make sure you're debt free, and that's going to allow you to show up, make better decisions, and get to where you want to go in a more predictable way, in a more predictable time frame. And so that's ultimately what we're doing, is we're teaching people how to get from one stage to the other, and ultimately implement cash flow hacking here and start investing for cash flow, because of the fact that you have more control over the results in your life. And it forces you, the only thing I'll say about when you try to invest for cash flow is you have to be more intentional, and you have to show up more powerfully in your own life. Chances are, as you're watching this video right now, you are not who and where you need to be to get where you want to go. That's the same with everybody in life. I'm no different than you. What's got me here is not going to get me where I want to go. And I encourage you to have that mindset as you go through the rest of your life. Always be stretching, always be pushing, always try to get better, always try to keep elevating your goals. And that is going to help you continually improve, and that's going to help you ultimately live a bigger, more impactful life, because I'm a big believer it is our duty on this earth to leave the world better for the next generation than what we inherited. And sadly, that's not the way the world is going right now. And so it takes people like you watching this video to go out and do that. So if you have any questions at all, leave a comment in the comment section below. I look forward to engaging with you. If you have any questions in the sense of like you want personal advice or personal engagement with somebody, go ahead. There's a link in the description below. You can set up a call with one of the Life 180 coaches. It's a clarity call, not a sales call, not a pitch, not anything. We just want to be able to help you. We want to be able to serve you, see if there's any way we can help you at all. Go ahead and set up a time there. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, that way you get notified. I launch a video every single day of the week, and I know it will serve you. If you haven't already, you found value in this video, please smash that like button, share this out, get it to more people. There's nothing you can do more to serve the channel, and with all the work that I put into this and making these videos, nothing more you can do to help me out than like this video and get it out to more people, because that tells YouTube that that it's making a difference ultimately. So anyway, till next video, have a blessed, inspirational day, and we'll talk soon. See ya.